Okay, so the second idea that might help any brain pains that you're having is that technically you can continue to refactor your code to actually break things down more and more into smaller pieces, right? It's just like it is in the real world. I mentioned earlier that I have a cup on my desk, I have a computer, I have a lamp. But each one of those things is actually comprised of other objects. Like my computer has a screen and it has a keyboard and a processor. My glass of water has a glass and it has water. There are always numerous objects contained within any other object. And the reason why you might have a hard time trying to figure out how to break down your code is because there's so many layers of objects to deal with. How do you know which layer you're supposed to be focused on? For example, our form. Our form contains inputs. Our inputs contain HTML code. Our form is processed with a validator, but there's different validations. Should each one of those pieces of validation have their own classes? Should each input have their own class? So instead of spinning your wheels there and doing some abstraction and then giving up and deciding it's just not worth it, there's a good principle, which is that you create new objects only when you have a justification for having them. So for right now, in this project that we're working on, this contact form, if we've fulfilled all of the requirements for this project, then there's no reason to do any refactoring at this point. There's no reason to break up these classes into smaller pieces. It's only if we find ourselves starting to repeat our code in other places that we should start to think that maybe there's a pattern that we need to pull out into a separate class or a different type of structure. So this is the do not repeat yourself rule, or DRY. So you're going to start to hear this more as you learn more about object-oriented programming. But drawing out your code is the idea of taking places where you might repeat yourself, figuring out what those different pieces have in common, and creating code that does that once and is accessible from all of the points that need it.